Okay, I got these regulators. This one came with this engine. No idea if it's any good. This one, no idea if it's any good. This one I know is no good. But if I was going to use one in here, I'd want to use this style. And I was thinking about, I could cut either way. I could do it, cut a hole in the shroud, get this in. I like these. I might see if this one's any good, and if this one works, fine, and if not, maybe I'll order a new one of these. So what I've done, I've got the regulator bolted down, and I've got the starter relay bolted down, and what I got, this ground wire going from the bolt off of there to here, and then I got this wire that's going to go to the engine mount bolt. Now, underneath, everywhere I do that or electrical connection, I like to use star washers, which this is one of them here. This is an internal. They also make external with the teeth on the outside. But if you're doing electrical stuff, those kind of bite in and keep a good connection. So there is those all over. So that'll keep these two grounded even if I start getting rust on this tray So the next thing I'm going to need here is, here's what I'm going to use for a battery cable. And I know it's not very big, but it should do. If not, I'll upgrade. I'm just trying to use what I got here. Also on that same terminal, the hot, where the battery comes, I come up here to the amp meter, the positive side. Alright, now from the other side it comes up and it powers the ignition switch. Now this wire is just what I had in there. I think I will upgrade it to this size wire at least. But I got to get the connectors to put inside these. I'll post a picture here what they are. So I can upgrade that wire and I'll feel better. Now back here in the back all rolled up, I like to get the engine in, figure out the length, and then I'll this will go to the starter. It's on the back side of the starter solenoid. So now we got power coming to the solenoid, and on the same terminal we got power coming to the amp meter and out into the switch to power the key switch. Now we need one to go to this terminal, so that's where this is going to come into play. This yellow wire here will go to the small terminal on the starter solenoid. And where that, okay, so you got the ignition switch here. This will be the S terminal. You'll have an S beside the terminal. B will be battery. Over here will be the I terminal. The ignition goes to the coil. Up here is the R. I'm going to go to the rectifier regulator with that. And up here is an A terminal in the top corner. And I'm going to run the lights on that. That way the key has to be on for my lights to be on. And when you turn the key to run, to start, like the engine's going to turn over, on this switch when I tested it, the A did not have continuity. So if you want to test it, you can just take your multimeter on ohms, and you know the battery, hook it to the battery, and then put your key in the start position. Well, with the off position test, you shouldn't have nothing nowhere other than your one terminal where your wire's going on. And the run position, you should have this one and this one and this one all continuity to the battery. And then in the start position, you'll have this one takes to the starter solenoid, and this one to the regulator rectifier will be hot, and of course the ignition, but the A won't be, so the headlights won't be on when you're cranking. Okay, so I got one of these connectors, and This fused wire will go to the headlight switch. The green wire right below it is a long one I got, will go to the coil positive side. It comes off of the I terminal. This lights, maybe I didn't say it, but it came off the A terminal. This will be the S terminal. That goes to the little terminal on the starter solenoid. This red one here comes from the amp meter. It's the battery power coming in. And then this one here comes off the R terminal, and that goes to the middle of the regulator rectifier. Unless there's two on top and one on bottom, then it goes on the bottom with battery. They're marked. Okay, so here's what I've done. We know we need a ground off the battery, right? So we know we got to have the positive going somewhere. So you take the positive and you come down here to the side of the starter solenoid, all right, on the big post on the side. Now on that same post, you're going to take a wire and you're going to come back up here to the amp meter on the positive side of the amp meter. If you don't know and it ain't marked, you can hook it up. If it's wrong, you'll see it won't work correctly. Try swapping the wires. Okay, now from there, this is going to come right on over here to the battery plus on the ignition switch. Okay, the key switch. B plus on the back of a switch is battery. Now we need one going from the starter solenoid, the other big terminal, down here to the starter. Now this little wire on the starter solenoid, when it gets power to it, that's what makes this jump power across and makes the starter go. So the S terminal, usually the bottom, and when there's 5 of them like that, it's usually the bottom. But look, it'll either be marked on there or you're going to have to test it with a meter. So the S terminal should go to the little wire on the starter solenoid. Alright. I, ignition. We're going to run a wire, and you're supposed to jump. Right down here. Where are we going? Over here to the or the coil. Sorry, I was looking the wrong way. So this is the plus side of the coil. Alright, I on the ignition switch to the positive side of the coil. Now on the other side of the coil, there'll be a condenser wire coming off of it. It'll go to the wire on the condenser, the negative wheel, and then it'll go down and you'll have the breaker points. Okay? So that leaves us the charging, and it leaves us with the headlights. Alright? Now I tested what I did. I hooked my ohms meter and I made it so it beep when there was continuity. I hooked it to the battery. Okay, when I turn the key to run, this battery, the ignition, the R and the A all have continuity in the run position. When you turn it to start, A loses continuity, the R keeps continuity. So I chose to take the A terminal. That way if I was cranking it with the headlights on, I wouldn't get nothing from the headlights drawing the battery. So you go down here, jump to the headlights, which ties together, and then out to the tail light. There's a yellow wire in there to the tail lights. Now over here, voltage regulator. We're going to take the R from the key switch and go to the battery plus. The reason is you're going to have 2 wires going into the engine coming out of the stator, out of the underneath the fan shroud. You hook those to the 2 outer terminals. It don't matter which one goes where. Some regulators will be like this. And if that's the case with the terminals, AC, AC, and this will be your battery positive down here. Alright, if you have that style regulator. Reason we need this to go to the ignition switch when it's running, or so it can go back to the battery and charge it. You got to have a path from the regulator all the way back. It'll go through there, through the battery, and come back up and all the way to the battery positive, and it'll charge the battery. One thing I did forget to mention is in this wire going to the headlights, actually I also forgot another thing. Switch. Okay, so it's going to go from the A to the headlight switch. Let's turn that around. Let's go it this way. That's better. We're going to come out of the A terminal to a fuse, to the headlight switch, and then down to the headlights. Alright? Sorry.